The atmosphere at BTS's Baltimore concert became unexpectedly emotional when Jimin appeared to share a touching moment with an elderly fan standing near the very front of the audience. While Jimin was performing on stage, the older man could be seen enthusiastically calling out Jimin's name, trying to catch the BTS member's attention amid the massive crowd. As the fan continued shouting his name, Jimin appeared to notice him from the stage. Instead of simply waving and continuing with the performance, Jimin seemed to focus on the elderly man for a moment, creating a special connection between the performer and the fan that quickly caught the attention of people nearby. The moment became even more surprising when Jimin appeared to take off the necklace he was wearing. Fans watching closely could see that his attention remained directed toward the elderly man, making it seem as though Jimin had decided to give him a personal gift. Jimin then appeared to hand the necklace to the older fan, turning an already emotional concert moment into something even more memorable. The elderly man seemed overwhelmed by the unexpected gesture, while people around him reacted with excitement and surprise. For the fan, receiving something directly from Jimin must have felt like an unforgettable experience. Standing in the front row and simply calling Jimin's name unexpectedly resulted in a deeply personal interaction that he may remember for the rest of his life. The surrounding army also appeared to become part of the emotional scene, with fans reacting enthusiastically to the interaction. Moments like this often become especially meaningful at BTS concerts because they show how a brief exchange between an artist and a fan can create a lasting memory. Jimin's apparent decision to give his necklace to the elderly fan turned the Baltimore concert into a moment that felt much more personal than an ordinary performance. Whether it was a spontaneous gesture or something Jimin had decided in the moment, the touching interaction left fans celebrating what appeared to be a beautiful connection between Jimin and an army member. From the very front row, the elderly fan appeared determined to make Jimin notice him. As Jimin continued performing on stage, the man repeatedly called out his name, hoping his voice would somehow reach the BTS member. Through the overwhelming sound of the music and thousands of cheering fans, he did not appear to be asking for anything extraordinary. His repeated calls seemed to come from a simple desire to be acknowledged by the artist he had come to see. Amid the countless army members holding signs, waving banners, and cheering, he continued trying to make his presence known. Every time Jimin moved closer to the front of the stage, the fans seemed to seize the opportunity to call his name again. His determination made the moment feel especially heartfelt, because even a brief glance or a simple wave from Jimin could have become a treasured memory for him. The atmosphere around him was filled with excitement, making it difficult for any individual voice to stand out. Yet the elderly fan continued calling for Jimin, seemingly refusing to give up on the hope that the singer would eventually look in his direction. Then, when Jimin appeared to notice him, the long effort suddenly seemed to pay off. What began as one elderly fan repeatedly calling his idol's name from the front row appeared to turn into a deeply personal moment, creating a memory that could stay with him long after the Baltimore concert had ended. Jimin initially appeared completely focused on his performance, singing and moving across the stage as thousands of army cheered around him. The concert was filled with music, lights, and countless voices, making it difficult for any single person in the crowd to stand out. Then, amid the excitement, the elderly fan continued calling Jimin's name from the very front. At one point, Jimin appeared to hear the familiar call and began looking toward the audience, as though trying to find where the voice was coming from. That moment became an emotional turning point. Jimin's attention appeared to shift away from the performance for a brief moment, and his gaze seemed to stop directly in the direction of the elderly fan. What had started as a simple attempt to get his idol's attention suddenly appeared to become a real connection between the two. For the elderly fan, even that brief moment of recognition could have meant everything. After repeatedly calling Jimin's name through the noise of the concert, finally seeing Jimin appear to look his way seemed to turn his persistence into an unforgettable memory. The scene became even more touching because the interaction appeared so spontaneous. Jimin was simply performing when one fan's voice seemed to catch his attention, creating a quiet, emotional moment in the middle of a massive concert, filled with thousands of people. When the elderly fan appeared to realize that Jimin had noticed him, his reaction seemed to capture the emotion of the entire moment. After repeatedly calling Jimin's name from the front row, finally receiving the singer's attention appeared, to leave him visibly surprised. His expression seemed to change as he looked toward Jimin, with a smile appearing to reflect the happiness of being recognized. It was the kind of reaction that made the interaction feel deeply personal, especially after the effort he had made to catch Jimin's attention. For a brief moment, the enormous stadium seemed to fade into the background, surrounded by thousands of army and the bright lights of the concert. The elderly fan appeared completely focused on Jimin, seemingly trying to take in the unexpected moment. If the expressions seen in the recording are any indication, the fan appeared genuinely touched by the attention. His reaction was not simply excitement over seeing an idol on stage, but the emotion of realizing that Jimin had actually heard him and looked back. That seemingly small exchange made the moment even more heartwarming. One fan called Jimin's name from the crowd. Jimin appeared to notice him, and the elderly man responded with an expression that seemed to say just how meaningful those few seconds were to him. As the interaction between Jimin and the elderly fan appeared to unfold, the people standing around him seemed to notice what was happening. What began as one fan calling Jimin's name suddenly appeared to draw attention from those nearby, creating an even more emotional atmosphere in the front row. Some audience members appeared to point toward Jimin, seemingly making sure the elderly fan knew that the BTS member was looking in his direction. Their reactions added another layer to the moment, as fans around him appeared excited to witness such a personal interaction. Other spectators could be seen holding up their phones, seemingly trying to capture the unexpected encounter. In a stadium filled with thousands of people, the sight of Jimin acknowledging an elderly fan appeared to be the kind of moment many nearby fans did not want to miss. The excitement also seemed to spread through the surrounding crowd. Fans appeared to cheer and react, with surprise as they realized that Jimin's attention had shifted toward the elderly man. Their reactions made the moment feel less like an ordinary concert interaction and more like a shared memory for everyone nearby. What made the scene particularly touching was that the surrounding fans appeared to celebrate the elderly man's moment rather than simply watching it for themselves. As cameras captured the interaction and cheers filled the area, the front row seemed to briefly become a small circle of people, celebrating one fan's unforgettable encounter with Jimin. In the end, what made this moment so special was not the size of the stadium, the spectacular stage, or the thousands of people cheering for BTS. It was the seemingly simple connection between Jimin and one elderly fan who only wanted to be noticed by the artist he had come to see. For the elderly fan, those few seconds may have become one of the most precious memories of the entire concert. After repeatedly calling Jimin's name from the front row, he appeared to receive something far more meaningful than he could have expected, a moment of recognition that made him feel seen. The emotional significance became even greater when Jimin appeared to give him his necklace. If captured clearly in the recording, the gesture would transform an already touching interaction into a lasting keepsake, giving the fans something tangible to remember the extraordinary night in Baltimore. It was a reminder that sometimes the most powerful concert moments happen away from the planned choreography and spectacular performances. A single glance, a smile, or a small gesture from an artist can mean everything to one person standing in the crowd. Sometimes, the most unforgettable concert memories are not found in the biggest performances, but in the few seconds when an artist makes one fan feel truly seen. And for this elderly army, the memory of calling Jimin's name and receiving his attention could become a moment he carries with him long after the Baltimore concert lights have faded.